Andrew Murray here from the Apartment Specialists, talking about what is a building code of compliance. Now this is often referred to as a CCC, as a Code of Compliance Certificate. Now what it is when a apartment complex is finished, a final inspection is done. And this is done by the governing body, generally as we know it to be the council. And they'll go through and check, firstly, that everything that was done by the developer and the construction firm matches to what consent was given. So before an apartment complex is built, they have to go through a consent process saying this is how it's going to be built, this is how high it is, this is what it's going to be built out of, this is going to be the cladding, all that kind of thing. And that inspection will actually be covering that. It will also be covering and checking off the workmanship, making sure that, basically for us being public, that Code of Compliance certificate issued by the council means that there's trust there that we know that the work that was said to be done was done to a very high standard. Now, unfortunately, as we've all seen in the papers, this hasn't worked how it should be. And due to a lot of developers going bust or dissolving, the council has been the last man standing, so to speak, as in there's nobody else to make a claim. And so body corporates, which obviously represent the apartment complex, will then go to court and take on the council because they issued a Code of Compliance certificate and they missed things, and they missed important things, which resulted in, for example, most common leaky issues and things like that, but also could be structural. Now, the council has learned, and they've learned because they've had to pay out. You've just seen a recent one where they've had to pay out over about $25 million, which is a record. And so these inspections to get these Code of Compliance certificates are now much more thorough. And you'll find that now bringing in external consultants, like for example facade engineers, so that's specifically on the cladding, and all these kind of things to make sure these certificates are not given out too easily. Because in the past, and I've come across in so many situations where I've gone, how did the council actually pass that? And you've had to wonder, did they even check it? Now, the good thing is from the 90s and early 2000s, and all the mistakes they had made, they had learned. And now it is so much harder to get that Code of Compliance certificate, and it takes a lot longer. So I suppose the industry has repaired itself. But the key question is at what date or at what sort of years are these Code of Compliance certificates can you actually trust them? And what I'll do is I'll go over that in my next podcast around, can you rely on a Code of Compliance certificate? But first I'll just briefly cover on what they're actually doing. So yes, they're covering the consent that was originally given by the council, i.e. how high it could go, all the different things that they had to do to make sure that they met the district plan, for example. And then they're also looking at how it was built, the materials that were used, were they used that they said they'd use, and all that kind of thing. So hopefully that really gives you an understanding of what that building Code of Compliance certificate means. And what I'll do is below there'll be an example here of one that you can see for yourself. But the next podcast I'll cover, probably the most important thing is, when can you rely on them? Thank you, Andrew Murray, Apartment Specialists.